So as MIP Junior draws to a close and MIPCOM's about to begin, I speak with Andy Fry, senior reporter at MIPCOM News, to find out what the key stories from MIP Junior and what he expects to see at MIPCOM. Andy, how are you doing?
Yeah, very well, thanks. Nice to be here.
It is indeed. And now there's been quite a few kids' stories announced today, obviously, as you would expect with MIP Junior. Tell us about what those key stories are and why they're interesting.
Yeah, so as you say, we haven't quite got to the kind of the rough and tumble of MIPCOM yet. We're still very much in MIP Junior territory. And I'd say there haven't been many deal-led stories, but there's quite a lot of interesting thematic stuff going on. So we've seen Crayola here giving a keynote and announcing the launch of a studio. So it's quite interesting to see a big product brand deciding they want to be in the content business. And they talked a little bit about their plans, some of the companies they might be working with, and gave a sense of why they wanted to be involved in this business. So I think that was an interesting one. A lot of talk about diversity at MIP Junior. I don't think you can really hope to be in the development or production of kids at the moment if you haven't really thought hard about baking diversity into the DNA of your show. So we saw launches like Oscar's Dress, which deals with the issue of a transitioning child. We've seen Kind of Spark, which is about neurodiversity. And there have been other companies. Eddie Steady Go is another show that's very much in the autism neurodiversity zone. So very important themes, I think.
Absolutely. And as we head into MIPCOM week, what are the key themes that you expect to see coming out the market?
Yeah, again, it's just a little early to talk about deals. I mean, because companies are going to be bursting through the door for the first time tomorrow. So we'll find out probably by about lunchtime, you know, the big announcements they have. But I think people are very interested to see how some of the big seismic trends are going to affect the deal making. Obviously, we're coming towards the end of the writers' strike. So that's going to have implications in terms of scripted content, deals that can be made, people working out, you know, whether it's still appropriate to be making stuff, you know, or whether, you know, whether they need to be looking at alternatives to scripted such as factual content. I think people are talking a lot about AI, still trying to get their heads around whether AI is going to make a difference to the production process or maybe the marketing and distribution process. And I think there's also a lot of interest in the big streamers and how they are marshalling their content. There was very much a feeling for a few years that they were controlling all content for their platforms. They kind of realized earlier this year that they were losing a lot of money and they needed to do something, so they've pivoted back in the direction of distribution. And what that means is a lot of the shows that would have just been tied up on their platforms will come to market. So we may see the Disneys and the Warners, those kind of companies, offering up shows that were a little bit unexpected, that maybe a year or two ago we wouldn't have seen in the market. But at this stage, on the eve of the market, still talking in thematic terms, I think.
And we're expecting quite a busy one, aren't we?
I think so. I think the general impression is that MIP, the April market, has become much more of a conversational market, a dialogue market, a market where people go to talk about development and financing. MIPCOM has become a monster. It's a massive market where people do come and buy and sell. They still do all the talking about financing and early stage development, but there are deals to be done here. And I think this is probably the first MIPCOM since COVID where, you know, all of the industry feels safe to be back together again. I mean, MIPCOM last year was strong, but I think that people were still a little concerned about sort of keeping their people safe, you know, when they went abroad. This year, it's really back in, you know, it should be gangbusters.
And we've seen the return of China. It's coming back as country of honour, and it's back in force with a huge number of delegates coming from that territory. How do you think that's going to impact the market?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's good to see China back. I mean, I think the decision to be a country of honour was quite a late decision, but there's clearly momentum for China to engage with the rest of the world. Tencent have been very active. I know they were making some interesting comments at MIP Junior already. The representative for Tencent Kids Video was talking about shifting their model away from binge viewing towards a more traditional linear style scheduling. So content that you don't throw all your shows, all your goodies at the audience in one go. You spread it out over a period of time to amortize your content better. So that's interesting. And there's definitely that sense of a few years ago, pre-COVID, we were obviously talking about engagement with China, about co-production possibilities. It very much went away around the time of COVID for obvious reasons. But I think there's going to be some interesting deal making, particularly around co-productions. But whether that'll be in scripted or factual, I'm not sure yet.
Okay, and Andy, we're going to catch up again at the end of the market to review what the key trends were and some of those real deal-making stories that have hit the headlines. So thanks for your time, and we'll see you on Wednesday.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.